There is a glitch in the human experience that we rarely speak of, yet almost everyone feels. It is a specific type of silent confusion. You look at the architecture of your life, and the data does not match the feeling. Observe your current reality. You are likely safe. You have a roof over your head. You have food in the pantry. There is no predator at the door. There is no famine in the fields. By every metric of engineering, your system should be in a state of rest. Your nervous system should be cooling down. And yet, if you are honest, you feel a vibration. There is a heaviness in the chest that arrives without a cause. There is a sudden spike of adrenaline when the phone rings, as if a siren is sounding. There is a low-level frequency of dread that hums in the background of your happiest moments, waiting for the other shoe to drop. You try to troubleshoot this. You analyze your mind. You ask, what is wrong with me? Why am I ungrateful? Why am I anxious when everything is fine? You go to therapy to fix the broken parts of your personality. You treat your sadness like a malfunction in your own design. But I am here to offer you a different schematic, a shift in perspective. What if there is nothing wrong with you? What if you are not generating this signal? What if you are merely receiving it? We often confuse the hardware, the brain, with the broadcast it is picking up. You assume that every thought in your head belongs to you. You assume that every fear in your heart originated in your lifetime. But this is a misunderstanding of how the human machine operates. Imagine a high-powered radio receiver hidden in the attic of an old house. It has been left on for decades. It is tuned to a station that broadcasted emergency alerts during a war 50 years ago. The war is over. The soldiers have gone home. The treaty is signed. But the radio is still screaming about the bombs. You are not the radio station. You are the receiver. And the anxiety you feel is not a mental illness. It is an echo. It is a phantom signal from a timeline that no longer exists, playing out in a body that does not understand why it is afraid. You are reacting to a threat that ended before you were born. To wake up, we must stop trying to fix the radio. We must simply realize that the broadcast is not live. We must learn to distinguish between the reality of this moment and the memory of the bloodline. Let us look at the mechanics of how this is possible. Let us look at the code. To understand how a ghost enters a machine, we must stop looking at psychology and start looking at the blueprint of the vessel itself, your DNA. For a long time, the engineers of biology believed that the genetic code was written in stone. We were told that you are born with a fixed set of instructions, a hard drive that cannot be changed. You have your father's eyes, your mother's height, and there is nothing you can do about it. But this was an incomplete understanding of the system. Modern science has discovered a secondary layer of the mechanism, a layer that sits on top of the DNA. It is called epigenetics. Think of your DNA not as a stone tablet, but as a massive switchboard, thousands upon thousands of tiny light switches. Some are flipped on, and some are flipped off. This is where the story of your lineage becomes the biology of your body. Let us go back 2 generations. Imagine your grandmother. Perhaps she lived through a great famine, a violent war, or a sudden devastating loss. In that moment of trauma, her body did something intelligent. It needed to survive. So it reached into the control panel of her cells, and it flipped specific switches. It turned the high alert switch on. It turned the store fat switch on. It turned the trust no one switch on. This was not a mistake. It was a brilliant adaptation. It was a software update designed to keep her alive in a hostile environment. But here is the flaw in the biological transfer. When the danger passed, the switches did not automatically reset. The body prioritizes survival over happiness. It keeps the shields up, just in case. So when she passed her genetic material down to your parents, and your parents passed it down to you, they didn't just pass the hardware, they passed the settings. You inherited the shape of your nose, yes, but you also inherited the sensitivity of the nervous system. You inherited the methylation markers, chemical tags that tell your genes how to behave. This explains the mystery. You are sitting in a comfortable room in the 21st century, but your blood is reacting as if you are in the trenches of 1940. Your mind sees peace, but your cells expect war. You are not broken. You are simply running an outdated operating system. You are using a survival map for a territory that no longer exists. This is not a spiritual metaphor. This is biological inheritance. You are the vessel carrying the unclosed files of the past. Let us move from the microscopic to the macroscopic. Let us observe how this mechanism plays out in the reality of a human life, in the quiet moments of your day. Because this code does not look like science when it happens to you. It looks like personality. It looks like just the way I am. Consider a man we will call David. David has achieved everything the system requires for security. He has a thriving business. His bank account is full. His refrigerator is stocked. And yet David cannot throw away a piece of bread. If he sees an empty shelf in the grocery store, his heart begins to race. He works himself to exhaustion, 16 hours a day, driven by a terror that sits right behind his eyes, a terror that says, tomorrow it will all be gone. His friends tell him to relax. He tries to rationalize it. He calls himself driven or cautious. But if we pull up the schematic of his lineage, we find the ghost. We see a grandfather who lived through the Great Depression, a man who watched his family go hungry, a man whose cells learned a singular, absolute truth: empty means death. The grandfather is gone, but the lesson remains. David is not greedy. David is not a workaholic. David is a biological vessel carrying the ghost of his grandfather's hunger. The mind has forgotten the famine, but the cells remember the starvation. He is solving a problem that was solved 80 years ago. Or consider a woman. Let us call her Sarah. Sarah desires love more than anything. She finds a partner who is kind, stable, and present. But every evening, as the sun goes down, a strange panic rises in her throat. If her partner is 5 minutes late, she does not feel annoyance. She feels a crushing, existential grief. She feels that he is dead. She prepares herself for the funeral before he has even walked through the door. She suffocates the relationship with her fear. She destroys the peace she craves. She thinks she is needy. She thinks she is broken. But she does not know the architecture of her history. She does not know that her great-grandmother spent 4 years staring out a window, waiting for a husband who died in the trenches of a foreign war. The grief of that waiting, the agony of the sun going down on an empty road, was so profound it etched itself into the biological line. Sarah is not reacting to her partner being late. She is reenacting the vigil of an ancestor she never met. She is the theater where her great-grandmother's unfinished play is still being performed. This is the tyranny of the unconscious life. We think we are making choices. We think we are reacting to the present moment. But often, we are merely puppets moved by strings that reach back into the darkness of the past. We are feeling feelings that have already been felt. We are crying tears that have already been cried. Until you see this mechanism, you are not living your life. You are living their memory. So now that we have exposed the wiring, what does the awakened engineer do? How do you stop a machine that has been running for 100 years? The unconscious human feels the wave of sadness and says, I am sad. They identify with the signal. They merge with the feeling. They become the sadness. The awakened human feels the wave and says, I am sensing sadness. This sounds like a small difference in language, but in the architecture of consciousness, it is a massive shift in position. It is the difference between being the character in the movie and being the one watching the screen. This is the technology of separation. The moment you realize the anxiety is not yours, you gain the power to stand outside of it. You become the operator rather than the machine. Here is the protocol for the override. When the feeling arrives, that ancient, unexplained panic, or that heavy, unearned grief, your instinct will be to run from it, or to fix it. Do not do this. If you fight the signal, you feed it with energy. If you believe the signal, you validate the error. Instead, you must execute the witness protocol. You sit with the sensation. You let the adrenaline spike. You let the chest tighten. You do not flinch. But as you feel it, you introduce a new command into the circuitry. You say to your own body, this feeling is real, but it is not current. This is a memory passing through me. You speak directly to the DNA. You speak to the ancestor living in your blood. You say, I see your fear. I honor your survival. You did what you had to do. But the war is over. The famine is finished. We are safe now. In that moment, you are doing something profound. You are manually overriding the automatic switch. The amygdala, the brain's alarm system, is screaming, danger. But you, the conscious observer, are sending a counter signal of safety. You are teaching your cells that the past is dead. You are holding the hand of your frightened inner ancestor and showing them the present moment. You are not repressing the emotion. You are completing the processing of data that has been stuck in the buffer for 3 generations. This brings us to the ultimate question, the question of purpose. Many of you ask the universe, why is this my burden? Why must I feel this pain that is not mine? Why must I do the work that others refuse to do? You feel like a victim of your history, but let me reframe the architecture of your existence. One last time. You were not given this burden because you are weak. You were given this burden because you are the one strong enough to dissolve it. You are the system update. Look at your lineage. Look at the timeline. Your great-grandmother was busy surviving the war. She did not have the luxury of introspection. Your grandfather was busy surviving the hunger. He did not have the tools of psychology. Your parents were busy building the foundation of safety you now stand upon. They could not process the data. The file was too heavy, and their bandwidth was too low. So they did the only thing they could do. They held the trauma in their bodies, and they passed the baton to you. They said, "We have carried this as far as we can. You take it. You are safe enough to feel it. You are conscious enough to heal it." This is not a curse. It is an assignment. When you sit in silence and process that ancient fear, when you finally break the cycle of anger or scarcity or abandonment, you are not just healing a single human life. You are performing a recursive repair on the entire chain. You are sending a signal backward down the line, honoring their struggle and releasing their pain, and more importantly, you are sending a clean signal forward. You are the firewall. You are the one who ensures that your children and your children's children do not have to fight a war that ended a century ago. They will receive your eyes and your hair, but they will not receive your fear. They will receive your wisdom instead of your wounds. This is the work of the awakened soul. It is not just about feeling better. It is about cleaning the stream of life that flows through you. You are not broken. You are the one who fixed the line.